I'm gonna be real honest with you right now. Today is October 24th, 2022, and on the day that I'm shooting this video, I have 10 euros to my name. And I have to pay rent in 6 days. But if you ask me, I would tell you that I'm the most successful that I've ever been. And that's because I started to measure my success by how happy I am, and not measure my happiness by how successful I am. For as long as I can remember, I was always told that happiness is being successful, and being successful means that I'll be happy, as if happiness is a state that I will only get to when I've accomplished something or I have achieved all my goals. But no one ever told me that actually there are so many different types of success that all mean very, very different things, and that happiness and success are not at all the same thing.
I will be really proud of you what you achieved your goal.
Sure, if I'm working towards something
Exactly. هذا المهم.
and I'm happy doing it, isn't that enough? And I am doing good things.
Yes, it is.
It depends on how you define success. Moving to Berlin was probably one of the best decisions that I've ever made.
I got high and the devil.
I didn't move here for work or for love. Okay, technically I moved here with an ex-girlfriend, but to be fair, we both lived in Montreal before and didn't really have a reason for moving to Berlin. So technically I didn't move here for love, but we did move here together.
You didn't move here for that?
But why I say that it was one of the best things that I've ever done is because Berlin is the perfect place to unlearn that link that I had between success and happiness. And to show you what I mean, I need to tell you a little story. And just like any great story, it starts with a good old heartbreak. In October 2021, Ellen and I decided to split up, which is actually pretty crazy. I mean, you've seen how beautiful our relationship was. Looking back at it, our breakup was a great thing. But I can only say that now, a year later. Hello. I got to keep a great friend. I'm good. We're people that loved each other, and still do. We're finally just trying to live our best lives. Co-parent the bestest boy.
Toby is happy,
Toby is happy.
if that's what the people wanted to know.
Yeah, being co-parented, which
Yeah.
actually makes it a lot easier. And free up a lot of time and energy to invest into friendships that were just about to blossom. As weird as it sounds, Berlin really became home after the breakup. And that's because the concept of home was no longer tied to one person, but instead to a group of wonderful individuals. Chris.
Ladies and gentlemen, has Khan ever told you about me?
Chris and I found a flat and moved in together as the weather got cold and the city turned grey. To describe Chris and any of the people that I'm about to introduce you to in only a few sentences would be a crime. But here I go.
No comments.
You burnt it. Chris grew up as an only child in Cyprus to Bulgarian parents. He's a man of routine, and you have to be real goddamn special for him to change it for you.
It's like you've never had a camera pointed at you before.
He meditates, works out, and takes a cold shower every single morning.
We're at a festival and Chris is meditating. See, I told you, he's a man of routine. Never misses a day.
And he eats a big bowl of muesli every night before bed.
Muesli? With Muslims.
Chris is one of the most hardworking and focused people that I know. He moved to Berlin 5 years ago, alone with practically no money, and worked as a janitor to make ends meet until he was finally able to make a living from his passion as a creator. He's constantly working to better himself and is genuinely a very grateful human.
But I'm happy the man I is.
If and when I leave Berlin, I'm taking him with me. I love Chris. Living with Chris was magical. It was the first time that we both lived with a friend, and honestly, it went really well. We both had similar schedules, staying up until 3 in the morning, working on our passions, comforted by the presence of a waking friend just next door. I love that schedule because it meant that we maximized the overlap of our free time with the little daylight that Berlin has in the winter. Nights were for work and days were for play.
Chris goes to Lidl to get croissants.
Our flat quickly became the place where a beautiful friend group formed.
Oh no, it's good croissant.
Yeah, it's like the best bits, dude.
Which brings me to Santo.
Is this your first time traveling to the United States?
Santo is a hilarious Finnish man. He's extremely witty and quick and generally has a response for everything.
You're allowed your wrong opinion.
But perhaps the best way to describe Santo is to say that he's curious.
This seems like much more wet and this is like desiccated, but
Santo is a carbon accounting expert at a green tech startup. I know, it sounds really lame, but actually quite the contrary. It's really important work.
carbon is not everything. There's this hegemony where we're looking at like obsessing about carbon footprint of things. Let's remember that there's other things that we always need to take into account.
And even though Santo has the only non-creative job out of the friend group, he brings the energy with his passion. He loves what he does and is genuinely one of the best humans that I've ever met, with an insanely righteous moral compass.
See you later. CEA. You put subtitles. You put subtitles and it makes sense. No, it's... When?
I think that going through similar life situations and struggles made us really close, and for that, I'm very grateful. I love Santo.
This is not for karaoke, it has a little baby on it.
That looks like you actually.
I agree. It does.
Around that time, Tony came into our lives.
Tony, look at me, you handsome devil. Do you break girls' hearts with these eyes?
No.
No? He's not a heartbreaker.
No. They break my heart.
Oh.
No. See the profound sadness.
So sad. Look at that.
No, it's alright.
Okay, I want in on this too. Wow.
Tony, or Tuan, always puts his head down during huddles. He's a talented Vietnamese Hungarian photographer and free spirit, and was a really good vibe when we first met him, so we started inviting him to everything that we did, and he always showed up.
Tony is a loyal friend. He's always here to help us with moves.
Tony is a mysterious man and isn't someone who readily shares, but is happy to when you dig. This friendship is quite fresh and there's still a lot to explore, but for now, I know that having Tony around is comforting and feels right.
So here we have Tony's childhood home. The best part?
We connect on the fact that we're both children of immigrant parents and share similar cultural values and pressure. I love Tony. Plus, he's an amazing cook and we often share the kitchen at dinner parties.
Yes, we do. By his head chef.
You're the Middle Eastern boys.
Do not touch, it's not done. Hey, keep fella.
He's also got an impeccable taste in music and photo books and shares that with Jakob. The final piece of this friend group. Apart from his charming good looks and the fact that he can down a beer faster than anyone that I've ever met.
Oh, look at him, he's doing it. Wow, that was fast.
Jakob is a talented German-American photographer from Boston, currently finishing his photography degree in uni.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fuck up this fucking Duna.
Chris has priorities.
He and I are alike in many ways, but perhaps the most important of all is that he always has a camera on him and is documenting the life around him. And that to me is very comforting, because I do the same.
We point cameras at each other, that's what we do.
Jakob has a video reference for every occasion.
And I grew up in the woods, and so I was fucking bored a lot, so I spent a lot of fucking time on the internet. Reddit and weed, dude.
He's a very well-articulated man and is extremely insightful and loves a good deep chat with his homies.
Banning a specific use of speech and expression is disrespectful to everybody.
If Jakob is around, forget having the aux cord because he's in charge of the music. I love Jakob. Chris and I's space was exactly what we needed. It's where we all became a unit.
This is nice. I feel like we've reached a new level of friendship where we can just like chill together and not necessarily be speaking and just be...
That flat became the sanctuary that made all the change that I was going through so much easier and actually enjoyable.
Hey man!
Life felt like it was moving in the right direction, and it was all because of these people.
It's a great photo.
You know, I just love when Santo just gives his all. Like, just doesn't give a fuck.
That was 50%.
Oh, dude, can I see 100?
Oh, am I butter? Because I'm on a roll.
Homeless in 2 weeks, baby. Represent.
Our time in this flat was coming to an end though, because it was a sublet. Plus, it so happened that Santo and Tony were also both looking for a place to live long term, and so we decided that we all wanted to live together. The idea was really exciting, but we needed to be realistic. If you know anything about the Berlin housing market, then you know how fucked it is here. I just have really good ideas for living with friends and showing life in the time that we have now here in Berlin. And I need to have the space to be able to tell these stories. So we decided to make this video to channel our frustrations into something creative in hopes that it helped.
Has this ever been you? Spending 24 hours a day refreshing online ads for flats? Then you know how miserable this is. 4 young professionals, friends, some might say.
Cool shots of my friends.
With extraordinary difficulty, they scout for a 4-bedroom apartment in the concrete jungle of Berlin, Germany.
Arbeitsbestätigung.
We've got all of the documents.
Kontoauszüge.
Schufa.
Mit schuldenfrei. Mit Schuldenfreiheitsbescheinigung.
Yeah, I got those guys to walk my dog once. He's still alive, so.
Hallo Leute, diese Jungs suchen Wohnungen. Bitte helfen, dass sie schnell wie möglich eine Wohnung kriegen.
Consider giving us a hand by sharing this video.
Yeah, that video didn't help. But at least it was fun to make. After a few months of searching, we finally had a promising lead to an insane flat. Great location, top floor of the terrace, and ticks all the boxes. The search was a real struggle. It made me really appreciate the friendship that we all share and the patience that it took. We weren't gonna stop until we found something for all of us. And so we finally did.
We got it, okay. Got him.
Okay, love you all. Let's go home! This is the first time all of us are going home at the same time. This is the start of a new chapter of our lives, and I'm here for it. Save the camera.
Been interrupted by these people.
Okay, I go to bed.
Are you?
Yeah.
Good
You guys
night.
know what would be fucking cool? I thought about this recently. Where there are those nights when we don't want to
This is great.
commit. Oh.
No, that's good.
I was recording, I was just like going in, petting the dog, and Chris is a couple of books with like selected short stories in there, like just
cool.
a couple of pages. We can sit down and read to each other.
Oh, that's so much fun. I like that.
Yeah, that's
Hungarian?
imagine.
Mhm.
Yeah, I make you read that at least.
Bye. Okay, so why am I telling you all this story and why am I introducing you to all these characters? How does it all tie back to success and happiness? Hi, I'm Karam, I'm Syrian Canadian, and it's about time that I introduce myself. I grew up in Syria but moved to Canada at age 12. I laugh like a 4-year-old. And I love to share my culture in the form of food at dinner parties. I'm usually not the funniest in the room, or the smartest, or the most entertaining. But what I am good at is building interpersonal connections with people. I know how to listen, and I know how to be a good friend.
How was it?
I love to go on crazy adventures with my friends and push myself and others outside of our comfort zones. I thrive outside my comfort zone. And my passion lies in telling stories. I'm really close to my family and can now say that I have a healthy relationship with my parents.
Come here.
They are without a doubt the most loving and hardworking people that I know and have raised my sister and I to be nothing short but great.
1 2 3.
But you see, that's where the skewed idea of success and happiness came from.
طيب يعني, are you proud of what I do ولا no?
You are proud.
Okay.
I am proud of you.
Well, I'm glad. It's good to hear that. No, I didn't know that.
انت شايف حلمك. انا بتمنى الحلم انه يتحقق تبعك باسرع وقت ممكن.
Having grown up to Syrian parents who became immigrants to Canada put a lot of pressure on me. Don't get me wrong, the best thing that my parents have ever given me was my Canadian passport. But for a long time, the type of success that my parents were focused on was the financial and the career type. And rightfully so, they had a family that they needed to provide for and a new life to establish. I mean, my dad is a doctor by trade who, when arrived to Canada, had to work as a school bus driver to make ends meet while studying to convert his license, which he finally did, and I'm so proud of him for doing that.
الوالدين انه هنا بيقولوا انه they're proud of their children عرفتي بس بالعكس انه كمان ممكن هن يقول لك انه I'm very proud of you كمان for everything that you've done with your life and how you've raised us to provide everything for us يعني.
Being exposed to these hardships at such a crucial time in my development into a young man gave me the skewed idea that success is only defined within the financial realm. And maybe that's just on me, but from what I remember, my parents weren't happy during these few years in Canada. Life was hard away from the people that they loved, with little money and a family to feed. They had a lot of stress and responsibilities, and so their happiness was pushed to the future. They would only allow themselves to feel it once they've achieved the financial success and security, and when they were doing what they loved. And so, up until recently, if you asked me if I consider myself successful, I would have said no. And although my overall standings didn't really change much since, I mean, as you've seen already, I literally have 10 euros to my name right now. I now can allow myself to say that I'm successful, even though my happiness hasn't really changed. This is because my definition of success and happiness has shifted to mean something completely different. But what changed? Why am I successful now?
Slow down, you crazy child. You're so ambitious for a juvenile. But then if you're so smart, tell me why are you still so afraid?
Moving to Berlin, being around these inspiring humans, I've been exposed to so many different definitions of success and happiness. From Santo, I learned that whatever you're doing wherever you are, what matters is that you're doing good work that makes the world a better place. That's success. From Chris, I learned that as long as you wake up and have the freedom to do what you actually want with your time, then that's success and happiness. From Tuan, I learned that spending time with loved ones and making memories is really what happiness is. And from Jakob, I learned that everyone has their own unique perspective, and as long as you're creating something that you're proud of and you're putting it out into the world, then that's happiness.
Losers. I live with losers.
Winners, baby.
Do
losers have suspension?
My development here got me to do a lot of reflection back to my relationship with my parents and the lessons that they've taught me.
Like I have different priorities on how I spend my time and how much I make. It's just different priorities, and it depends on how I define success.
I've been able to have very insightful conversations with them, especially on our most recent family trip, which will be its own video later on. From them, I learned that actually success is just being happy. You get used to the financial success, and so as long as you have goals in the horizon and have enough to sustain a healthy and fulfilling lifestyle where you can provide for and spend time with your loved ones, then that's really what success is. We should concern ourselves not so much with the pursuit of happiness, but with the happiness of pursuit. I was happy, but couldn't let myself be happy because I didn't consider myself successful. But now, I let myself be happy because these definitions shifted. This 10 euros in the bank doesn't translate to laziness or failure. It translates to time spent making and living memories. It means that I've had the freedom of choice, waking up and having chosen how I wanted to spend my time. Time that I spent on adventures and living stories. This video is far from providing a holistic view of what happiness and success are. This is just me processing the world around me. And I want this channel to be a place where I can do just that. To share topics and ideas, to Share this happiness of pursuit and tell your stories of everyday life in the city with these wonderful humans in this amazing flat. I want to show you my adventures from around the world with the people that I love. I live a life of great privilege, living experiences that I never imagined I ever would, meeting people that are teaching me things that I would have never learned from a textbook. These are real people, real human connections, and real life stories. And it's all going to be told right here on this channel, by me to you. So subscribe and let's build this connection between you and I.